Hello, my name is Derek, and this is Random Philosophy. Today we're talking about The Mystery of Being by Gabriel Marcel. This is a result of the Gifford lectures from 1949 and 1950, and this is Chapter 2, A Broken World. So, Marcel spent some time talking about truth in this chapter, even though he covers it later. And he mentions that truth is usually that we usually think of truth as something that is universally acknowledged. But that isn't always the case. Sometimes there could be truths that aren't universally acknowledged. And Marcel admits that the way he's doing this investigation will only appeal to minds with a certain bias. And getting back to truth, Marcel sees that there are generally two horns to the dilemma of truth. It's usually thought of something that is either extracted or being fabricated. But the problem is that both these concepts of truth are have this concept of something that is some type of physical process. And Marcel suggests that whatever truth is, it's not something physical. And this idea of truth reminds Marcel of an experiment that he did in college. He says it may have been electrolysis, trying to separate hydrogen and oxygen from water. And when he did it, he just couldn't get the experiment to work. And he says even though he couldn't get the experiment to work, the ideas and the concepts behind that experiment are still true. It doesn't really matter that he wasn't able to do it. Marcel spends quite a bit of time quoting Nietzsche and referring to Nietzsche, this idea of will to power. And Marcel noted that even the victors of World War II, they're still the war. It wasn't the case that even the Allies didn't all agree on everything after the war. They still had their own ideas about, and they still had their own best interests in mind. They were still trying to get power for themselves. And Marcel also saw the bureaucracies of the government as something that suggested in the future we were just going to keep progressing towards a society in which the common man is nothing but an automaton and just treated as an object by his government. And so these people who were in control of these governments, he saw them as Nietzsche did, as these masters who display a will to power. And this will to power is at odds with what Marcel wants to do. He wanted to do an investigation into what is intelligible and what is true. And in a society where everyone is just involved in their own desire to get power, community is just inconceivable. And in this community together, or in this society, togetherness, it's losing its meaning. And citizens themselves are just seen as agents who should be contributing to their essentially tyrannical government. And he even saw all governments as the same. He saw problems with capitalism just as much as he did with communism. And he saw that man is just being stripped by society of all his protections and just being treated as an object. And he saw also that this state is could be seen as a god in itself. Not a good god, but just a god that makes demands. And this government these governments are administrative machines that oppose every kind of creativity. And these governments are like the bad view of God in that they can take favor away if they want. If citizens don't do what the government wants, then they can just take away that favor. And this type of government just makes metaphysical investigation and reflection difficult. And this desire, fear, and vanity make men refuse reflection.